is Tuesday, and every Tuesday we talk all things African spirituality and how African spirituality can be the basis of a lot of our understanding of how things work in our lives. Back with us today is African spiritual advisor and fashion icon, Sia Mkhize, who we're talking all about infidelity and its spiritual implications. Are you well?
I'm very well, and yourself?
I'm good. So let's talk a little bit about infidelity in the African context. How is it viewed?
So infidelity is a big no-no because of what you bring into the home, into the relationship, and into, more particularly when there's kids involved as well, right? Because with infidelity, especially if the couple is married, okay, that betrayal is not necessarily the betrayal of you and I. Sikhumbula ukuthi you are technically not my wife, right? And I'm technically not your husband. Kunekhehla, right? That is married to you, right? So you're not my wife, you're wife of Lelo Kehle. And then and same vice versa with Isalwa.
So what you're saying is that it is not us in the physical who are merged, it is our ancestors who we are surrounded by, you've brought the families together.
Exactly. Okay. So that betrayal, right? Not only does it disrupt the relationship, but the kids are the ones that are affected most by the betrayal. Because if I step out of the relationship and I cheat, I don't know who I'm cheating with, right? So if that person's using dark medicine, they're using ikorobela or whatever the case may be, I now bring that into the home. Saying leta isnyam.
Got it.
And then the people that are affected the most by isnyam or infidelity are those who are most spiritually vulnerable, the children, right? That's why it doesn't help to begazela through infidelity, because you're actually doing yourself and your children a disservice.
Big time, big time. So let's talk a little bit about the idea of polygamy, right?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about infidelity, maybe this is what we do. We define infidelity, please, for us, because there is polygamy in many African cultural practices. So what is polygamy in view of, what is infidelity in view of the fact that you can actually marry various people?
Okay, so infidelity is having any kind of interaction or sexual relationships with someone other than your wife.
Got it.
Right? Polygamy, right? And how it's usually done. If I'm married to you and I want a second wife, before going to find a second wife or having relations with another woman, I would come to you, and ask for permission, right? I use the word permission intentionally because blessings should bring more blessings.
Right.
You are my first blessing, right? If this marriage falls apart, you cannot expect the second one to be successful. So upon the blessing of the second wife working out, the blessing of the first wife needs to work out. That's why back in the day, it wouldn't be me that finds a second wife.
It would be the wife.
You would go and find a second wife and say, Yazin, mngani wami, awungisize sakho umuzi wakamkhize.
Brilliant.
And that's because the relationship between the two wives is actually far more important than the relationship between the husband and the second wife.
And then by extension, the children also, that family unit becomes bigger and more blessed.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about then who is the most impacted. You have said the children, but what is the impact on children when you've brought isnyama into the house through infidelity?
Okay. The biggest impact on children is felt by the children who are spiritually gifted.
Okay.
So if your child uzale wembet, right, there will be physical and mental ailments that they struggle with and they deal with. But if you bring in isnyama of infidelity as well, those particular physical and mental difficulties, especially at school, are further exacerbated. They become worse because of manjeles nyamales, right? So if you have if you want to know what's going on, right, a reflection of the spiritual purity of a marriage comes through in the health spiritually of ingane zabo, their children. So that's why sometimes it's better to part ways, right, and then let the children and co-parent, as opposed to being together and allowing the other party, whichever party is cheating, to continue to bring in less nyama.
So I wanted to ask that from an African spiritualist point of view, divorce, splitting up, breaking the family home by splitting up. What are the views there?
So we don't want to get to the point of divorce.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes we can intervene spiritually when it comes to the infidelity. For example, I speak quite a lot on Twitter about idlozi, lesindawe. So idlozi, lesindawe is very, very sexual in nature, right? That's why the history of idlozi, lesindawe kahle kahle laxoshwe ekhaya because of ukuphinga, and it's very sexual in nature. That's why people with idlozi, lesindawe have a lot of sexual dreams, and they are hypersexual.
Okay.
So yes, your husband can be or wife can be predisposed to it. Predisposed, not guaranteed, right? Two big words, different words. And sometimes by cleansing that and then sending them for couples therapy, they can work through it. However, spiritual intervention without psychological and mental intervention is not going to work because you're not just a spirit, right? Your body, mind, and spirit. So we can cleanse the silungise idlozi, lesindawe, right? But if you still want to continue cheating, that is still your choice. You see, you can still spiritually be predisposed to a successful, loving relationship, but the burden on you is to exercise your agency, your autonomy, and choose to honor the blessing that is already there spiritually. And a lot of people are getting it wrong, and they're losing out on their blessing because they forget that, yes, you're meant to be a millionaire spiritually, but the way you act,
Your behavior
is not in alignment with what you're blessed with.
Okay, so I'm going to open up the lines for some voice notes. If you have questions around infidelity, the results and impact of infidelity, if you suspect that maybe you are being cheated on, what are the spiritual impacts of that? If you yourself are the cheater, what spiritual impact has that had in your life, in your relationship that you can share with us? And of course, you can stay anonymous. We're here to teach and learn from each other's stories. It's not about a judgment in any way, shape, or form. Just from a spiritual point of view in African spiritualism, let's learn together. The last thing I want to ask you in this segment was about the infidelity having a different impact on men as it does on women. Is that true?
So the only difference that you can really have in terms of impact on men and impact on women, impact on men will affect your energy of creation, right? So as a man, you have a seed, you have the energy of creation, right?
Yeah.
Impact on women will affect your ability to proliferate or multiply.
I don't know what proliferate is.
So women have energy of multiplication.
Okay.
Whatever you give them, they'll always multiply. Exactly. So when a woman's when a woman's cheating, you'll see that things don't multiply in the home. The bank balance doesn't multiply. The love, the affection. But when the man's cheating, there's no innovation. There's no new things. There's no creation.
Like forward motion.
There's no forward motion when the man is cheating, right? So it's all about, because now I'm taking this energy of creation and I'm dumping it somewhere else. So I have less to put in this home, right? And then, of course, the biggest one is it comes to money.
Okay.
Right? Infidelity affects money.
Sure.
Sooner or later, abadala will close the tap. Especially if so one thing about abadala bazokhoza.
Yeah.
Bazothi mfana wami, I'm speaking to men now, right? Yeka lento.
Yeah.
Right? Bayakhoza. And they'll show the wife what you're doing, right?
So that's a close encounter. The SMS comes to the wrong number, or something happens, you're in the bathroom, the phone is there, you see it, yes, something like that. Yeah.
And then something else will happen, maybe scratching of the car or something like that, right? But then sooner or later, because as men we forget, what you have, ukhona umuntu that's giving it to you. And then sometimes, okay, it's fine, leg.
Let's take a break. We're going to continue this conversation. It's quite profound. We're talking about African spiritualism. It is a Tuesday on the morning show on E. And CM Kiza is going to stick around with us if you have any questions around infidelity, cheating in a marriage or in a long-term relationship. Stick around. We'll be right back.